It's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. We're here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, and we're here with Anthony DeCurtis, author of the new biography called Lou Reed, A Life. Anthony, thank you so much for taking a few moments.
Oh, it's really my pleasure, man.
You are giving a talk here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You knew Lou Reed pretty well. You met him a number of times.
Yes.
So big question about Lou Reed. Was he really the jerk that he seems to be, or was that really just an act?
No. Lou is a difficult guy. I mean, he and I got along extremely well, but I know there are many writers with whom he did not get along very well, and many other people.
Right.
But Lou was tough, and he could use the Lou Reed persona to get out of situations he wanted to get out of. He wasn't shy about doing that.
So it was more of a defense mechanism, really, that he developed.
Yeah, I mean, I think he, created this self, that he would refer to. He would sometimes talk about Lou Reed in the third person. But, that was kind of typical of him. I mean, his construction of his identity is like one of the interesting parts of the book. Just trying to figure out where that line is between him and the self he created.
Right. And it seemed like these defense mechanisms, they started pretty early in his life. It wasn't something that after he became famous. It was really since he was a kid.
No, that's one of the things I think people have talked about, regarding the book, is how, when he was in high school, Lou Reed was Lou Reed. And, that was, I think a lot of successful people, and particularly successful artists, do that. They find a way to live their lives that gives them the fullest expression. And, you don't create songs or perform for people if your life is simple and one-dimensional. And Lou's definitely wasn't.
He had a difficult childhood, although it was middle class and successful parents. But he had some issues, that his parents felt that he needed therapy. And they put him through electroshock therapy. At the time was not so unusual. It still goes on today. How do you see that affecting his life, or do you? I know he seemed to calm down a little right afterwards, but how do you see it affecting him long term?
He developed a kind of really a hatred for his father based largely on that experience. He felt betrayed by his parents. His mother felt guilty about it for the rest of her life. His father, I think, felt, that he was confronted with a son who had a lot of problems, and this was the way that was suggested to him to handle it. So it was hard, It was a central experience for him.
And he was probably exhibiting homoerotic symptoms as well at the time, which would probably be handled differently today. And of course, there was a lot of guilt in the family at the time. Do you see that affecting any of his sort of gender bending later on in life?
He came to see, the sort of gay aspect of his life as, I think, almost a kind of revenge on straight culture. So there was a genuine erotic aspect to it, but there also was an element of kind of cultural revenge. And, as a result, he did a lot of good things for gay people. But he was ultimately pretty conflicted about it. In a lot of ways, I think, in many ways, Lou was a very conventional kind of Jewish suburban kid of his time. And being gay was not part of that, or wasn't supposed to be part of that. So he indulged in it, but he also felt ambivalent about it. And that was a struggle, I think, in his life.
Talk about his relationship with Andy Warhol. It seemed like two entirely different people here getting together and at least finding a way to accommodate each other, whether they were sort of just a marriage of convenience, but they certainly got along well and inspired each other.
Well, Lou learned a lot from Andy Warhol. When Andy began managing the Velvet Underground and producing their first two albums, it was really a situation where he provided them with a tremendous amount of visibility that bands starting out typically don't have. Lou had a strategy almost working with people and getting what he needed from them, and then jettisoning them from his life. That happened to Andy. I think once Lou felt that the Velvet Underground had done the kind of work that they could do, it was important for him to be seen as a rock and roll band rather than like Andy Warhol's latest clever project. And that is what, that led to the split. Essentially Lou fired Andy. And they had, a complicated relationship from that point on, sometimes close and sometimes not. But of course, when Andy died, Lou and John Cale did an album in his honor. As often happens, when somebody dies, it's easier to get along with them.
He also had a complicated relationship with David Bowie, who arguably, I guess inarguably, gave Lou Reed a career, because it's questionable whether we might even be talking about the Velvet Underground at this point if it wasn't for Transformer and all the things that came after it. How do you feel that relationship at the end was for Lou Reed? I think it's clear that David Bowie admired Lou and idolized him and honored him and played his songs. I'm less clear on how Lou felt about David Bowie.
Well, I think initially, every aspect of Lou's life has a kind of double aspect to it. And that was certainly true about his relationship with David Bowie. I think initially, he was very grateful for Bowie's interest in him. Bowie produced Transformer with Mick Ronson, Bowie's guitar player. And, they did a great job, and they made a great record with Lou, and they gave him his only big hit, Walk on the Wild Side. And that element of, Bowie's very genuine devotion to Lou and desire to really put him on the map as a solo artist, I think Lou really appreciated that. After that, I think Lou did not want to be standing in David Bowie's shadow. And so that led to certain conflicts that led to, at one point, a fist fight. A fist fight between David Bowie and Lou Reed. Not exactly, Joe Louis and Mike Tyson, but nonetheless, a fist fight. And, as time passed, I think they came to see each other as, kind of peers. And certainly Bowie never lost his regard for Lou Reed. He always acknowledged his debt to Lou. And, that was an interesting aspect of Bowie, I think. As much as he might seem somebody who is always kind of ironic and distant, there was a part of his heart that was very true. And that was certainly true in terms of how he felt about Lou Reed through his entire life.
We could talk here all day. Thank you so much for taking a few moments.
Thanks so much.
Hey, it's Thomas Mulready from CoolCleveland.com. Have a great week in Cool Cleveland.